got another not so bad day today. It's right at the freezing mark. It's nice and sunny, so today's just going to be a pleasure cruise. The only thing I really have planned is stop at the post office and see if my tires are there, and of course Timmy's. But I think if I don't get my tires today, then I'm going to call up my dealer, and he's the one that's ordered them, so I don't know if he got any kind of notice that they've been sent or not, so I'm going to give him a call and get him to look into it and see what's going on. I guess that's really all I have for that. I found a rather interesting video about the Great Lakes. Nothing that I didn't already know, but it's, you know, for those of you who don't live in the area or are kind of curious about it, I'll play that.
Waves slam against the rocks and soil of the shorelines of the Great Lakes, and as they do, a little bit of the land slips below the water. High lake levels are wreaking havoc on shoreline communities all along the edges of the Great Lakes. Flooding swamps places like Port Colborne on the eastern end of Lake Erie, ice slams up and over protective walls, waves batter houses and cottages, and shore evacuations are becoming more and more frequent. Is this normal for these inland oceans? Why do the water levels fluctuate, and can we humans do anything to mitigate them? Lake levels have fluctuated in the past, but if we focus in on the last few years, you can see a steady upwards trend, and that's worrisome for people like Frank Seljanix, a scientist for Environment Canada. But, as he explains, it's kind of out of our hands.
Biggest factor for the water levels in the Great Lakes is Mother Nature. So what Mother Nature does as far as how much precipitation is falling on the lakes, how much runoff is coming from the land surface into the lakes, and how much evaporation is coming off the lakes, that is the main determinant of what the water levels are going to be. There are actually only two places where we as humans try to regulate the flow in the Great Lakes. One is the outlet of Lake Superior, the other is the outlet of Lake Ontario.
But because of the sheer vastness of the Great Lakes, we can't expect things to change quickly.
Because we have these relatively small channels between the lakes, it takes a long time for a high lake level to actually drain out the lakes. And of course, we've calculated years of average conditions to get the lake levels back to what we would consider average.
And as with so many things, it's very complicated, and not everybody wants the same water levels.
Most people who have had docks or seawalls taken out by high water levels, waves, and erosion, well, obviously they're not going to be happy with that. And then you get to low water levels, and then people who, let's say, run the power plants, higher water levels help them out. Shipping industry, they're generally like higher water levels because they can put more into their boats, because of course lower water levels, you're worried about your boat bottoming out. So there's all these different factors for different interests along the lakes and the rivers, that some like it high, some like it low.
And of course, long term, we have to factor in climate change.
Under climate change, what we're projecting are changes in the water level that have average going up a little bit more, but the most important thing is just higher extremes, so higher both in the highs and lower in both the lows. So we have to be able to handle those highs and lows in the coming future climate.
Yeah, of course they had to throw the climate change in there. One thing they didn't really mention was one lake feeds into the next, and then the next, and it just kind of goes downhill. So any water that starts in Lake Superior will eventually end up in Lake Ontario. So if they all have high water levels, then it takes a really long time for them to drain out. And of course Lake Ontario is the last one. But it really only, I think its only drainage point is the St. Lawrence, and it runs through Quebec, so that's why Quebec gets so much flooding, because the lakes kind of go through there. But it's a lot of water to flow through one particular area, as like I say, all the lakes will drain through that one spot, so it takes a long time for them to drain out when they get high. It looks so nice out there today. Just kind of staring at the sunshine reflecting off the icicles out there. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I want to go out and get it back so I can get some stuff done in the computer. So, I think that's all. I don't have any more news of any kind for anything, so I guess go out now and have me some fun. Bright sunshine. Well, there's one more thing I was going to talk about. Why do I feel guilty buying toilet paper? We were living in Hanover. I started buying the 30 packs. They're double roll. And I started buying those just because they last so long. Now that we live here, when we moved, I bought an extra one just in case, because I didn't know if we'd be getting a Walmart or not. So when we moved here, and it turns out Value Mart's got them, and they're the same price as Walmart, $17.90 something. So the advantage of them now is we have 2 washrooms here, and they're divided into 5 6-packs. It's just easy to move them, from one washroom to the other. So we had lots, and last January is when the toilet paper thing happened. And I bought one then, and I hadn't bought any since, so it lasted us a year. Which is one of the advantages of buying that large package. So I bought one yesterday, and I come out of Value Mart, and I felt like everybody was looking at me. It's like, no, I'm not hoarding, right? So I was like, why do I feel guilty buying toilet paper? It kind of says a lot about the world we live in now. So, it's just going to be a while before we need it again. So, I thought I'd mention that. I never thought I'd ever feel guilty buying toilet paper. It's only supposed to be 0 degrees out there today, but the sun is deceiving. It feels colder than it is. But my outdoor activities are done now. So I'll get going and do me some computer work.